darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Alright, so that might have been a little much, even for me. But truthfully, of the adjustments that Ermac got in the last patch, the one that kind of annoyed me the most was the nerfing of Air Blast. And I understand why they needed to do it. I mean, since they were taking out a lot of the armored launchers in the game, it only made sense that sooner or later they would address that. Now, in pre-patch, Ermac's regular Air Blast, without using meter, was very easily, I think, +1. Which meant that he could check opponents with his 6-frame down 1, or his 8-frame, then 7-frame with the plus frame, down 3, which was great because that moved low profiles under some mids. So it made it very easy for Ermac to kind of check opponents for trying to push buttons on block, and gain plus frames for his next attack. Now the EX Air Blast was even better. In my findings, I figured it was around +9 because it could jail into his back 1, which was the little back fist you saw at the end of the video, which at the time benefited Spectral a lot because Spectral could do a block string into float, tap 1, EX Air Blast, and then land and then go into further offense. Now, there are obviously gaps in that, but again, it was a useful tool, only because it could jail into all of his pokes, so his down 1 is down 3. It could jail into his back 1, and for anything else, it made it impossible to push buttons without using armor, which meant in the corner, Ermac could use a forward 3 to launch the opponent into full combo. He could do his overhead, again, full combo. So he had a lot of different options off of this one move. So I understand why they got rid of it. Now, some Ermac players have kind of written off the Air Blast altogether because it's not as plus as it used to be. They say it's not plus at all. But what I'm finding is that it still is. It's just extremely height dependent. And characters with 6 to 7 frame pokes, which at this point is a chunk of the roster, can usually try and challenge it. So it's not as useful as it used to be for block string pressure, but it's still plus and can still benefit the Ermac player if his execution is on point. I'm going to try and show you guys what I mean now. Alright, so we are back in training mode, once again using Kung Lao's 7-frame spin as a reversal. Now, some might ask why we're not using the EX version of this move, and the answer is really just because there's no armor, so there's really no point. And on top of that, the EX spin shrinks Kung Lao's hurt box. It makes it a lot harder to actually poke him, so we wouldn't really get accurate results from this test. So, as you saw in my previous upload, getting a free down 1 check was relatively simple off of the Air Blast, as long as you got it reasonably close to the ground. Now, this still holds true, although you have to be a lot quicker with the down 1, and you also have to hit the Air Blast at a very low height to get the plus frames. Otherwise, you're just going to trade. So as you can see, the down 1 is still possible. You can also get down 3, which has an 8-frame startup, although hitting that consistently with the regular or even the EX Blast is a lot more difficult than the down 1. In fact, even I haven't gotten to the point of getting it consistently. In fact, it might even be more to do with getting it further out, but it is still possible. It's just extremely difficult. So, that's the regular Air Blast. Now we can take a look at the meter burn version. Alright, so now we're going to use the meter burn Air Blast. Now, from what I've found in training mode, the meter burn version may be slightly more plus than the normal Air Blast, but not by much. In fact, it's almost indistinguishable. So it's a little more space with the down 3, but it is still possible. The last bit I'm going to leave off on is to kind of see that at most, I believe, with the down 3 being 8-frame startup and it just barely beating the spin, I would say that at the lowest possible height, the Air Blast and the EX Air Blast may be +2 at most. I'm at +1, +2. Really, really low to the ground. Certainly a lot harder to do than the pre-patch version, especially since it doesn't jail in anymore. And it can be kind of easy for characters with 6 and 7 frame pokes to beat Ermac out, or at least trade. So, definitely not as good as it used to be. However, it's still plus. And we can see that if we set the opponent to always block and to jump. And then we will do Air Blast. Let me turn off reversal. Okay. Still get used to this. So as you can see, Ermac jumps just a little bit before his opponent does after they block the Air Blast. If I can get it consistently. This is why you don't drink before doing videos. There we go. So, he doesn't jump much quicker, so he's plus, just nowhere near as plus as he used to be. So there you have it. Obviously not as good as it used to be pre-patch, but it still holds its place in Ermac's arsenal. Above all else, it's still a unreactable overhead that is plus on hit and block. It still launches for full combo both mid-screen and in the corner, and can play a very pivotal role in Ermac's mix-ups when it comes to his staggers in the corner. So, while you can't easily abuse it as you could before, it's still something that's worth learning. Especially if you can get it consistently enough to get a down 1 check, because the computer is one thing, doing a reversal on the first frame. Not every human opponent can react like that. In fact, very few can consistently. So, something to keep up with and take to the lab. And that'll just about do it for this particular video. I'm going to try and continue reworking the Ermac guide to kind of update it with all the latest patch info, even though the game is slowly on its way out. But nevertheless, keep on the lookout for more content. I'll be posting future updates to Ermac, as well as some matchup videos coming soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to reminisce about how good this move used to be. Take care.
Because a vision softly creeping left its
They
seeds
could have left it at least a little plus, like +4.
and the vision that was planted in my brain